Israel, saying, on the 10th day of this new moon, each one of them is to take for himself a lamb, according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the beings, according to each man's need. You make your count for the lamb. 5, let the lamb be a perfect one, a year-old male. Take it from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same new moon. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Israel shall slay it between the evenings. And they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. 8, and they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire, with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs. They shall eat it. Do not eat it raw, nor boiled at all with water, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and its inward parts. And do not leave of it until morning. And what remains of it until morning you are to burn with fire. And this is how you eat it: your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Pesach of Yahweh. And I shall pass through the land of Mitzrayim on that night, and shall strike all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both man and beast. And on all the mighty ones of Mitzrayim I shall execute judgment. I am Yahweh. And the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I shall pass over you. And let the plague not come on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Mitzrayim. The final verse, 14. And this day shall become to you a remembrance, and you shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahweh. Throughout your generations, celebrate it as a festival, an everlasting law. This new moon is the beginning of months for you. Okay. Thank you. Since you don't want to work, we don't have time for that. Okay, so the new moon, Chodesh. So everyone say Chodesh. 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 So you just spoke Hebrew. This is the new moon. Now, we start out with the first letter, which is Ket. And the Ket means a tent wall. That is what it is representative of, a tent wall. The next letter of Kodesh is Dalet. The Dalet always means, and there's a pictorial value of a door. Then we have the Shin. The Shin is representative of teeth, or as a protection. You know, people get dogs, large dogs, pit bull, whatever, something like that. A dog that's going to protect the house. So if an invader tries to come into the yard, what might happen to them? They might get bit by the teeth of those dogs. So we see Het, Dalet, and Shin. Now, what is very interesting about this word Kodesh, and as I was going through this teaching, I thought this is reminding me of something, because you have the tent wall. The tent wall is what protects you from the outside. So that's your house, your abode, the place where you live on the inside. Then you have the door on that tent wall. The door. And then you have the Shin, which is representative of Yahweh. So I thought to myself, I said, wow, Father, this is awesome, because this is also representative and can be representative of the what? Mezuzah. The very thing that we were told to take and put on our doorpost. Now, it's a sign, because we just read in Exodus 12 that Yahweh said to put the blood of the lamb on the doorpost, because it will be a what? A sign. So the mezuzah, putting the Torah of Yahweh on the doorpost. Most mezuzahs, when you purchase them, if you have one on your door, it has a Shin at the top of that mezuzah. All mezuzahs have that Shin. Why? Because it's representative of El Shaddai. Yahweh El Shaddai. Yahweh Almighty One, who is the protector of this house. Protector of this tent. So you have the tent, the door, and the Shin, representative of that mezuzah. And I thought that was pretty interesting. That this word, new moon, Kodesh, would be relative to that mezuzah. The new moon is a sign and a reminder of what is about to take place. Just like the new moon is a sign, the mezuzah is a sign to anyone who wants to come and bring harm to that household. That mezuzah is there to say, this house is protected by the Most High Yahweh. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So we're going to let's look at this new moon from the standpoint of also the what the word actually means is Kodesh. So when we look at the word Kodesh, it's Brown Jarvis Briggs, Hebrew Concordance, H2320. And as I said, it's Ket Dalet Shin. And Kodesh means actually new moon, month, monthly, the first day of the month of the lunar month. But this is the one, we're going to kind of focus on today, is the root word of that word Kodesh. Because, Father Yahweh doesn't just tell us to do things just arbitrarily. He doesn't always tell us, it's not always very, very clear up front why he's asked us to do something. But as we dig deeper into his word, and as I said earlier, the more we do his word, the deeper understanding we get in it. The more we study his Torah, the more we are able to understand why we are doing certain things. And it also gives us an enlightenment of times. Very seldom did Mashiach ever speak anything outside of the Torah that was already written. Why? Because in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was Elohim, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among men. He was the Word of Elohim. So what he spoke was him. That was part of his entire being. He was the Word that was spoken in the beginning and came and manifested in the flesh. Hallelujah. So let's look at this word, Kodesh. The root word of Kodesh is Brown Drivers Briggs Hebrew Concordance 23:18. And that word is Kadash. And it means to be new, renew, repair, or to renew, or to repair oneself. So that's what we're going to deal with today. We're going to talk about repair. And we're going to look at it from the standpoint, the beginning and the head of the year, and why Father Yahweh calls us to go out and to sight this moon so that we can say, hallelujah, Kodesh, Rosh Kodesh. It is the beginning of the year. Hallelujah. So let's look at Amos, because we're talking about repair. Amos 9:3. Can we read this all together? In that day, I shall raise up the booth of the David, which has fallen down, and I shall repair its breaches, and raise up its ruins, and I shall build it as in the days of old.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Repair. When we look at Rosh Kodesh, and then I'm going to go down and jump down to Amos 9:14 and 15. And it says, and I shall turn back the captivity of my people, Israel. And they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, hallelujah, and drink wine from them, hallelujah, and shall make gardens and eat their fruit. And I shall plant them on their own soil and not uproot them anymore. This is a promise from the Most High. From their own soil I have given them, says Yahweh, your Elohim. So in looking at this word, repair, and looking at the sighting of this new moon, we are being called by the Most High to remember something. The blood being on the doorpost as a remembrance, the blood being as a sign. Now, what other thing does Father Yahweh tell us that's a sign? Do y'all remember?
Sabbath.
The Sabbath. The Sabbath is a sign. So those are two things that we're looking at. The Sabbath being a sign, and the blood on the doorpost being a sign. Also the mezuzah being a sign, saying that this house is protected by the Most High, El Shaddai. Also the sign of the new moon. We look into the heavens and we see that there is a crescent. That's when we know it's the beginning of months. He said, I will make this is the beginning of months for you. So we go out there, we look at the signs. These are all signs that Father is giving us. As the new moon, as the repairing. We're supposed to be thinking about the repairing. It's something interesting that Father uses. He uses elements all around us to teach us how to be in relationship with Him, and also how to be in relationship with each other, and how to be in relationship with all of the creation. So as we look at this sign in the heavens, It is telling us that we need to be ready to do something. So that's what we're looking at today. Now let's look at Jeremiah 18:1 and 2. Because we're talking about Father Yahweh repairing. That this is a time of repairing. Passover is the beginning. We are getting geared up for something that's going to happen. So there's something that's supposed to be happening, just as we are supposed to be preparing and cleaning out our house of leaven. As Minister Shamika was saying, go through, open up. We had to remember to lift up the toaster and take the bottom of the toaster off and make sure there's no breadcrumbs. See, there's a group of people that would say, you're legalist. But what Father Yahweh said to me one time, and I will never forget this. We must have been maybe 2 or 3 years in doing the Passover. And we were going through preparing, and the whole group, all of the sisterhood, there used to be, the whole sisterhood would go out and go shopping for the Passover meal. So as we were out shopping and we're all in the grocery store, and a couple of us are going down different aisles, and we'll take this aisle, we'll take this aisle, y'all take that aisle over there, and we're going through. And as I'm standing there, I remember taking off, you know, after you get a certain age, you need some little help to read very small writing. I didn't need that before. I feel a little some kind of way about that, but hallelujah. So you take off, you take your glasses out. Now you know what I'm talking about. I tell you, we all but don't laugh, because y'all gonna all get there. If you don't wear glasses already, you're gonna get there. So we were in the grocery store, and I pulled my glasses out, put them on, and I'm looking at the labels on the back and going through, trying to find, is there yeast? Is there yeast? Is there leavening? And the Ruach HaKodesh spoke to me and said, that's how I want you to check your life for sin. That was just an epiphany in the middle of the grocery store. That's why I say Father Yahweh doesn't give us these Moedim. He doesn't give us these feast days. He doesn't give us the Sabbath. I just want you to do this. Just be obedient to me and just do it. He gives it to us, and he allows us to be taught. He teaches us through them. And when I got that epiphany, it sprung up and burst something up within me. I'm telling you, it imploded within me like it was a bomb that just went off. And he said, just like you're checking that label for yeast, that's how I want you to check your life for sin. And that's what people don't get when they say, you're legalist. Checking the labels. That's a legalist. Well, you know what? If the word says, if the righteous scarcely make it into the kingdom, guess what? Those who are checking the label, checking and trying to figure out. It's interesting they don't call Santa Claus legalist when he said he's checking his list and checking it twice. But they call us legalists because of what we're trying to do. They don't understand. They think we're doing it as our own righteousness, but it's the righteousness of the Most High. What we've been called to as a people of Israel. He called us to be peculiar. He called us to be set apart. His segula, his treasured possession. So we go through and we're checking, listing, trying to figure out. I mean, if we were into doing the Passover, I know 10 years. And realizing that we were missing a whole slew of stuff that was classified as leaven. So but every year we get better and better at doing it. Why? Because we're doing it. Yeshua said, and blessed is he who is not just a hearer of the word, but is what? A doer of the word. So if I'm legalist, hallelujah. Because Yeshua said, I'm blessed because I'm doing it. Hallelujah. I'm not just a hearer. I don't just hear his word and then go home and eat my, Easter ham every year. But I hear it and I do it. I hear it and I apply it to my life. So this reading, Jeremiah 18, is talking about repairing a person. It's talking about Israel being broken. And how many can believe that we are in a place, Israel is in a place of brokenness right now? The mere fact that we're not in our land, the mere fact that we were brought here enslaved, the mere fact that Israel was spread out all over in the diaspora outside of the land of Israel because of their disobedience tells us that we're broken. So he's repairing. So what Yahweh tells Jeremiah, Jeremiah 18:1. And the word which came to Yirmiyahu from Yahweh, saying, arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I let you hear my word. Now, how many know that Father Yahweh has to allow you to hear his word? Because if our ears at one day, no matter what the reason was for us getting here and sitting here around with each other, listening to this teaching, keeping the Sabbath, keeping the holy days, doing what Father Yah has called us to do, he opened our ears one day and allowed us to hear his voice. He opened our eyes one day and allowed our eyes to say, what I'm seeing is not true, it's false. I need to look somewhere else. He opened that up to us. So he goes on, he says, I let you, and there I let you hear my words. So I went down to the potter's house and saw him doing a piece of work, hallelujah, on the wheel. And the vessel that he made of clay was ruined. How did it get ruined? In the hand of a potter. So he remade it. Somebody say repair. Repair. He remade it into another vessel as it seemed good to the potter to do. Then the word of Yahweh came to me saying, O house of Israel, I believe that's what he's saying to us today through this message. O house of Israel, am I not able to do with you as this potter, declares Yahweh? Look, as the clay is in the hand of the potter, so are you in my hand, O house of Israel. He's calling us at this time of the Kodesh to think about the repairing. He called us and said that he would make us repairers of the breach. So that's what we have to look at this year. Look at during this time of Passover. That there's a preparing, repairing, and a preparing that's going on. So Jeremiah 3:6. So I went down to the potter's house. Went to that whole potter's house. He looks through the window and watches this man who is sculpting this piece of clay. And the man decides, the potter decides, this is not what I want. The pot becomes ruined. I don't know whether it was cracked, but I know what a pot is meant to do. It's meant to hold liquid. It's meant to hold something. So if it couldn't hold that anymore, then the potter needed to remake it. But notice that Father Yahweh never gets a new lump of clay. So, thinking about that, when people say, well, I am not of the house of Israel, so I don't have to do those holy days. That's for Israel. And right, that's for the Jews. We hear that. Oh, so you're Jewish because that's only for the Jews to do. But I say this, and looking at this Jeremiah 18, if somebody does, please bring it to my attention. Where Father Yahweh ever takes another bride, does he ever say, I'm the God of the church? I'm the God of the New Testament? Did Yeshua ever say he was the Messiah of the New Testament? But what Yahweh does say is, I am the God of the Hebrews. I am the God and the sovereign of Israel. Father Yahweh never takes another bride. He says, Yeshua says, there are those who I have that are not of this fold, but them I must bring also. They're grafted in. He makes us all one. He opens up the door and says, whosoever will, let him come. But they have to be grafted into the house of Israel. There's not a house of Israel, then there's another door. You know, I don't think they think there's another door that they can go through and everybody's dancing around there doing anything they want to do, you know, eating pork, whatever, having a party in the other room. That's the other part of Israel. And that's what I believe some people think. No, you have to be grafted in. The laws of adoption come into play. We see in the Torah, clearly in the Torah, it says these laws are everlasting laws for you and for those who come and decide to join themselves to you. That there is one Torah for the house of Israel, one Torah for the stranger who comes and abodes and takes his part and abodes, has a tent within your dwelling. One Torah. He doesn't write another set of laws for those people. That's another teaching I'm going to do, because I had a very interesting conversation with a person about Yeshua making a whole new set of commandments. But these are the things that's being taught that is deception from the enemy to keep you. Why would you not want to be Israel? The word Israel means to rule, reign, and conquer with Elohim. Why would you not want to be Israel? Why would you not? He says, Israel, you are the apple of my eye. You're my firstborn. Why would you not want to be Israel? So we're talking about repairing concerning the moon. The moon being a sign. He tells us to go outside, look at the moon, see that it is a sign, it's Kodesh. What it is, that's the beginning of months for you. He tells us that put it on the doorpost of our house, that's a sign. He tells us the blood on the doorpost at Passover, that's a sign. He tells us the Sabbath is the ring, as the sign, as the wedding covenant of the people of Yahweh. These are all signs that he's given us. Signs in the heavens, signs in the earth, signs on Israel that show us who we are and who we belong to. So let's look at this moon, because that's what we're dealing with, the Kodesh. The Kodesh from the standpoint of it being relevant, the new moon being relevant to our walk and what we're supposed to be doing when we sight this moon. So I went out on moonprogression.com because I just wanted to kind of beef up on the new moon cycle. And it states the term new moon or lunar cycle refers to the moon's continuous orbit around the earth. As the moon orbits the earth, its appearance, the phase changes, and thus gives us an indication of the moon's progress and in the cycle, the age. So, y'all go with me on this. We're going to look at a little video. And we're going to learn all about the progression of the moon.
You don't have it the same.
It's the brightest and most noticeable object in the night sky. But if you spend much time observing it, you will see that the moon is never quite the same from one night to the next. The moon has something we call phases, which means that it appears to change shape a little bit every night. To understand why this happens, we need to talk a little bit about the way the Earth and the moon move together in space. The moon orbits around the Earth, much like the Earth orbits around the sun. However, while the Earth takes about 365 days to travel once around the sun, 1 year, the moon completes its orbit around the Earth in only 29.5 days, or about 1 month. That's actually where the idea of months came from, the time it takes for the moon to complete one orbit around the Earth. And the words moon and month come from the same root. Despite how bright it looks in the sky, the moon does not have any light of its own. It only appears to shine brightly in the sky because light from the sun hits it and bounces off. Just like the Earth, the moon has a day side and a night side, with half of it in sunlight and half of it in darkness at any one time. As the moon travels through its orbit around the Earth, that dividing line between day and night, called the terminator, is visible from different angles, giving the impression that different amounts of the moon are lit up on different days. The cycle of lunar phases begins with the new moon. At new moon, the moon appears completely dark because the unlit side is facing the Earth. New moon is the only time in the lunar cycle when a solar eclipse could happen, because it is the only time that the moon is between the sun and the Earth. After a few days, once the moon has moved along a little in its orbit, we can begin to see some of the moon's day side from Earth. What we see is just a thin slice of light called a crescent. We call it a waxing crescent because waxing means growing. The crescent moon will grow a little bit thicker every night until it reaches the next phase, first quarter. The first quarter moon is sometimes called the half moon because it appears to us that half of the moon is illuminated. But it is called first quarter because the moon is 1/4 of the way through its cycle. As the days pass, the moon continues to grow, soon entering its next phase, the waxing gibbous. Gibbous means humped or swollen, and again, we call it waxing because it grows thicker every night until it reaches the next phase, the full moon. A full moon is the biggest, brightest, and easiest phase of the moon to see. The moon rises at sunset and is up all night, so if you are outside and the sky is clear, it's hard to miss. The moon is halfway through its orbit around the Earth and is now on the opposite side of the Earth from the sun. During a full moon is the only time that a lunar eclipse can happen, because that is the only time that the Earth's shadow could fall on the moon. As the moon continues in its path, it appears to shrink again as we begin to see more and more of its dark side. A few days after the full moon, the moon will be a gibbous again, but this time it's a waning gibbous. Waning means shrinking or getting smaller, and so the moon will be waning for the rest of its orbit. The next phase is another half moon, but this time it's called third quarter, or sometimes last or final quarter, because the moon is 3/4 of the way through its orbit. Soon, the half moon shrinks into a waning crescent, which will continue to shrink night after night until it vanishes completely into the next new moon. Big and bright and beautiful, different every night, but repeating the same cycle over and over. The moon is one of the best objects in the sky to observe, especially for someone just getting started. The next time you look up and see the moon in the sky, take a moment and see if you can identify which phase of the moon you're seeing, and try to figure out which one will come next.
concerning this moon. Now I know you're all thinking, what in the world? Why is she showing a video about the waning and waxing moon, the phases of the moon? Because what are we talking about? We're talking about the moon from Kodesh as it relates to the bringing in of the feast of Yahweh, and what we are called to do when we look at these signs. It's like we're supposed to, like Rabbi always says, with the signs, you talk about signs and wonders, we're supposed to look at the sign and then we're supposed to wonder. We're supposed to wonder, what does this mean to me? What am I supposed to do during this time of seeing this sign? Then when we relate those signs with the things of their remembrances, the Passover being a remembrance, the mezuzah being an understanding, a sign that this place is protected by Yahweh. Then the tzitzit are what? And remembrance of who we are. And every time we look at it, we're supposed to do what? Remember the commandments of the Most High. Well, it's the same thing with the new moon at the beginning of Passover. And this is what Father Yahweh said to me. That Passover is a time of preparation. Yes. The beginning. We see the new moon, and we begin to now start cleaning out our house of leaven. Because we know we've got the full moon that's coming. See, it's a progression of our lives. That's what the moon is about. That's what the Kodesh is about. It's about the progression of our lives. And Rosie, I'm going to tell you, you're not the only one who was feeling that way at the beginning. Because we're supposed to be looking at repairing our lives, getting prepared for the feast. So as we look at this Kodesh, we see the sign in the heavens, and we look at that Kodesh. We're supposed to be thinking towards, I'm going to a place of coming to the fullness. Our lives being reflective of that new moon, and how we are to progress towards Passover. What's supposed to happen? Once that new moon, that full moon is here, what has happened? It's Passover. Guess what? Our houses are to be ready and prepared, cleaned out from leaven. Our hearts are to be prepared, cleaned out from leaven, from hate, from anger, from all things that we have that's in our past that we need to get right. We're called to repair. That's what the new moon is about. That's why it's called the Kodesh. That's why that root word, H2318, Kadash, is used. Because it means to repair oneself. So at Passover, we're supposed to be preparing ourselves. Thinking that when we first start out in this walk, we're like that crescent moon. Not full. Not understanding completely what we're supposed to be doing. But just kind of moving along because I'm just coming into this walk, Father Yah. I don't know exactly what all I'm supposed to be doing. But you know what? I'm going to start walking out. Because a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one footstep. So how do we get to our destination? If I want to get to that wall back there, what do I need to do? I can stand here all day going, Father Yahweh, get me to that wall. Get me to that wall, Father. I'm getting to that wall. Y'all, I'm getting to that wall. I'm going to be at that wall. Somebody at some point should come up to me and say, Rabbis, you need to take a step. You need to begin walking. And this is what it's all about concerning the keeping of the Sabbath. The keeping of the feast days of Yahweh. That it's about beginning with that first step. But not staying there. Don't make the first step and then you're still saying, I'm getting to the wall, but I've only made one step. You have to understand and look at it from the standpoint. There's a reason he said, put the blood over the doorpost. Why? Because the doorposts represent what? It represents our hearts. It represents our dwelling. It represents our home. Same thing with the mezuzah. And we're preparing for what? For the time that everything is unleavened. Our hearts are unleavened. Our homes are unleavened. Our thoughts, our minds are unleavened. Now we are moving towards the crescent moon is I'm thinking, I'm preparing. The thoughts are coming to me. Father Yahweh is bringing some things to your remembrance of what is pretty, what's not right in you. So now I've got to start making the steps towards getting to that waxing moon. As the moon continues to go forward and to become fuller and wax, that's what I'm pushing towards. Becoming whole. Becoming a little more educated. Heart relationship with Yahweh in the Torah, the whole 9 yards. I'm trying to get to that full moon. Because at that full moon is what? The Feast of Passover. It's that time. The time that I get in and I celebrate. Why? Because now I can eat the unleavened bread of righteousness. Now I can take part in the Lamb of Yahweh. Now I can take part in the feast and the festival and the dancing and the rejoicing. Why? Because I have looked at the sign in the heaven that said I need to be preparing my heart. I need to be preparing my house. I need to be preparing my mind. I need to be checking myself over and over and over again. Why did I do this? Why did I say that? Why did I go there? Why did I do... All of these things are in that crescent moon. And Yahweh is telling us, just like he told Jeremiah, and I will let you hear my words. We need to ask Father Yahweh, Father, let me hear your word to me. How do I get from the crescent moon to the full moon? Because I want to be prepared for the Passover when it comes in. And as we continue to prepare for that Passover, this is a huge thing, because this goes in a cycle. The Feast of Yahweh are a cycle. Just like the moon circles around the earth, just like the earth circles around the sun, just like the universe, and how it is prepared, and how it is arranged by the Most High. It's in a circle. It's a cycle that we go through. It's the same thing with our bodies and with our hearts and our minds. Especially concerning the Feast of Yahweh. That they come, we have that 7 months, and then we have the 5 months of preparation. The 5 months of relaxing and resting, and then here it comes again. So, saying that, when we're looking at the Feast of Yahweh from a complete standpoint, we start out with one of the 2 times that we are sighting the moon. Come on, Torah scholars. We just been talking about sighting the moon when? Right? Before Passover, the month of Abib. Where's the other time that we are sighting the new moon? Yom Teruah, trumpets. We are sighting. One begins the first of the spring feast, and the other one begins the first of the fall feast. So there are 2 times in our spiritual life concerning our relationship with the Most High that we are called to sight that moon. To sight it and start beginning to what? Prepare. And now, Father Yahweh is giving us a new word, to repair. So now we are repairing. So when we get to where? Yom Kippur, we are going into the water, coming out, and saying, Father Yah, I'm ready to go into the wedding feast, which is
Hallelujah.
Sukkot. 2 times that we're called to repair ourselves. Father Yahweh says in Isaiah, he said, make for yourself a clean heart. Make for yourself a clean heart. So that's what we should be doing at this time before Passover, is preparing and repairing. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.